Oh, describe the methodology. Okay. When I say that, again, you're going to reiterate what Percy says, and then you want to integrate from Patton and Denson and Lincoln the actual stuff, just qualitative, just not general qualitative, just qualitative. Okay. Why is qualitative study and the methodology work for this? So you're talking about, at the beginning, you're talking about Percy and Percy and Coster, and then you're going to bring in the other ones that's going to talk about qualitative, why qualitative works, what's important about it, you know. So, I mean, in the idea of talking about qualitative, you're looking to get rich data from the opinions and the beliefs, and it's gonna, you know, when you get to that portion, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You want to show the depth in just a couple sentences or a couple quotes or a couple sentences on basic qualitative. Okay.
Okay.
And this will lead into why. Then your next step is why in detail. Okay. So you're going to kind of introduce your participants, how these questions are going to enhance the whatever you're looking at. Okay, basically, this is the only portion of the fluff it is. You just want to fluff it up so when it's read, everybody goes, "Oh yeah, qualitative really works."
Okay.
Okay. For me, when I did mine, qualitative worked because there was no kind of a survey that would work. Okay. I had to get to the emotions and the feelings. And as a researcher, the difference between this survey and an interview is that you're an active participant in the interview. So you can see emotions in that. When you do a survey, nobody sees your emotions.
Right.
It's whatever you put down. But in an interview, you're going to see those emotions. You're going to hear the tone and inflection of their voice. And that's what's really important. So when you're doing that portion of the qualitative portion, that's where you find in the literature what it says about qualitative and how qualitative is very resourceful towards your study. Okay.
Okay.
The next one is, how will your design be used to collect data to answer the research questions? And that's right here. Jump ahead again. Yes. So like right here, okay. You're going to be now introducing what kind of instruments you're going to use. You're going to have a demographic survey, and you're going to have an interview guide that is going to basically the interview guide is your questions for your face-to-face interviews.
Right.
And basically that's it. So it's very, very detailed, but it's real short and sweet because you're going to talk about that later. So it's like I get these back, and then I get 2 pages for research design, and they're going step by step through all the processes. No, you're just telling me exactly what you're going to do. And you know, if you don't feel comfortable just putting that, then this will be discussed later in the chapter, because you don't want to regurgitate enough on the front end that when it comes down to the meat and bones, you can't regurgitate and reinvent the wheel every time. Because again, now I go back to that very first statement. This is kind of like your legal document. If you said one thing in your research design and you said something else when you're going to do your data collection, and there was somebody that got mad and didn't like your study, or, you know, there are Sue happy people out there, and they brought this up and they said, well, you said you were going to do this up here and this down here. Which one is it? It's not clear. When you read it, you want to make sure that it's when I read it, I look for a crystal clear roadmap to get your data collected.
Okay.
Analyze it. Okay.
Okay.
Dead horse.
Yeah.
Let me sure. Okay.
Yeah.
The last sentence here, be sure. Oh, darn it. There we go. Can't put that on there. Be sure to relate your variables back to your research questions or hypotheses. We don't have any variables, but the whole idea is that you're not going to reiterate your research questions again. It's going to be completely inferred that your questions are going to be based toward answering the research questions without study, okay? Because you're going to say it later on. Now, study population and sample selection, okay? It's basically 2 to 3 paragraphs total. Very concise, to the point. Paragraph 1, introduce who you're going to interview. Okay. In your case, you got what's your topic?
Transformational leadership of CCC athletic director.
Correct. So you can start out with an introductory sentence and then go right into who and where you're going to
identify these guys.
So, like the idea of the athletic director, you're going to talk about the athletic directors. Now we got to take out that location. And where is this? The East Coast, West Coast?
It's anywhere. So is that
anywhere in the country?
Mm-hmm. I was going to survey all of them using the
right.
email.
I remember now. It came back to me. So it's a national. You want to get away from pointing toward any league or anywhere because it's got to be completely anonymous. So, the athletic directors across the was it junior college?
It's Christian colleges and universities.
Right. So Christian colleges and university across the United States.
Correct.
Okay. So then you want to introduce who you're going to interview. Introduce the sampling method. Okay. So your sampling method is real simple. It's purposeful sample. Okay. There's only 2 real qualitative ones that are really used. It's purposeful sample and snowball. Purposeful sample meaning that you're choosing just from a certain demographic, such as athletic directors.
Right. Okay.
The difference is if I was doing it at random, okay, qualitative doesn't work. Qualitative doesn't work in a random setting. It's very purposeful. I've got to have certain people to ask the right question to get the right answers. Or snowball. So the idea here is that if it happens once, it's not a big deal. But like for mine, I had to go out in and change my method, my sampling method again, because when I got down to the end, I had people flaking on me.
Oh no!
So I needed a couple more, and basically I just started asking people, "Do you know anybody that has this criteria?" And I got a couple names. That's snowball. It's like you're getting information from your participants of who else would be good.
Right.
So if that comes up, it's a real easy fix. It's like adding a couple sentences with a citation. So just let me know. We can adjust that. It's real simple.
Okay. Good.
Change anything as you go along. But if you have like one person, I'm not stressed about one person, but you have a whole bunch and we need to change it. You won't have to go back to IRB because you're just adding. You're not changing anything. Okay. So basically you're going to introduce a sampling method, and that's done through the literature. Okay. You do your research on purposeful sampling. You want to introduce it. You want to define it. And then each of these, you want to have a quick statement of why it works for your study.
Okay.
Okay. Introduce your inclusion criteria. Okay. And you do this in list form. The inclusion criteria is as follows: colon, and then whatever your inclusion criteria is.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, how many ever it is. Okay. And then again, another sentence as a why sentence or two, why is this important? Well, it is, it's really compact in the idea that it's there. It's there, and you've already picked who you're going to talk about, but you got to let everybody know. That makes it purposeful. Does that make sense? So, like, if you're only picking athletic directors you're choosing a national. Since you're going national, you're trying to do everybody. We are the inclusion criteria. Well, I don't know how you word this, but the idea here is that you're going to justify quick and easy why you're choosing that criteria. It's a little harder to do, but keep it very simple, direct and to the point, and you'll be fine. Okay. Basically, on here I put introduce the inclusion criteria and tell the rationale. How, and then the last portion is how will you recruit the participants? So you're going to now introduce how you're going to do this. Are you going to do it by telephone? Are you going to do it by email? Are you going to do it by snail mail? Whatever it is, okay? This is an introduction. So you're going to come, some of these you're going to come back to in detail when you do your data collection and your data analysis.
Let me stop for just a second. So if I mean, there is potential to change my mind even. Like I may head into this thinking this is the way I'm going to do this, but this isn't working. So
means you got to go back and do another presentation.
But I have to switch. What's that?
In terms of switching what?
Like even like how I collect the data. Like so, you said email, snail mail, phone. Like let's say I discover that I'm not getting responses by email that I thought I would.
So when you do this, you're going to have to go through every single one of them. Weren't you going to some convention?
Yes.
Okay. So
a couple of them.
Well, see, here's the thing. You're going to outline that in this section.
Right.
So you want to outline everything that you may have to do. So if you're going to do email and you're going to do snail mail and you're going to do it personally in the convention, you're going to have to put it out there at the beginning.
Right.
And then you'll have an email script. If you're going to do mail, we have a mail MAIL script. And then we'll be writing stuff up for how you're going to handle it at the convention.
Okay.
So it's going to take just a tad longer, but if you have it all, then you pick and choose.
Right.
And it's like a full recipe, and then okay, hey man, I don't need that butter. I threw the butter out. Okay. I don't use the snail mail. I don't use it. And then what happens is when we go back and you only, let's say you did it at a convention and email only, we just throw the snail mail stuff away.
Okay.
But it's the idea of getting through IRB.
Right.
And not having to go back to them because now you need to do it at a convention.
Okay.
So it'll be just a little extra writing, but
cover your bases while you can. Yeah.
Cover your bases at the beginning, and then so like I cover my bases by email, Zoom meeting, and basically telephone. They still call that telephone.
Right.
Telephone and that. So I had it all, and then I used the Zoom audio, and I used face-to-face. So I didn't even use the email, so we're good with that.
Okay, sounds good.
That's the end of paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, you're define the sampling method. This is where you have pattern and you go in and do purposeful sampling. Discuss the number of participants between 10 and 15. Define saturation. Okay, because in interviews, what it is you have 10 to 15 bodies you're looking for. If you get to 11 and basically everything that you're doing, you're hearing the same stuff over and over again, 12, 13, 14 are really not going to add anything to it. Some people get to 9 and they're done. Some people I got to 11. I know people got 12 and 13. But at a certain point, you're sitting there for that period of time, and all the answers start to sound the same. Basically, it's just extra work for the same number of bodies. Okay?
Right.
All right. Explain how you will ensure confidentiality. And a lot of this comes from Patton, some from Creswell. Do no harm, consent form, face-to-face interviews, audio recording, data analysis, and then you're going to finish up with how you're going to store the materials. And when you come to that point, I'll be able to tell you exactly what to write there.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Now
right.
we're moving on.
Down a little bit on the form. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. Instrumentation, sources of data. Okay. You start out with the intro sentence, discuss the different survey and interview guides. So you have your demographic survey that does age, gender, and so on and so forth. And you always want to put, and the demographic survey is for to ensure that the participants fall into the inclusion criteria. And you're going to you're going to introduce your interview guide and give it an acronym, and then you use the acronym for the rest of the paper. And you basically, about 2 to 3 sentences, reiterating again why this is important. The questions will, the interview guide items will produce rich data to examine blah, 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 blah. Transformational leadership of da-da-da. So it's kind of like there's a tad of fluff, but it's basically just reminding them that you're staying on track. You're staying on track. This is what I'm doing. I'm staying on track. Okay. Discuss the reasons for developing your interview guide and your demographic questions. I kind of just went over that same thing. You just want to have a rationale, a sentence or two, a rationale for everything you do that points back to making sure that it's important. Okay. That's it. So basically, realistically, that is about maybe a paragraph or two at the most. So we're skipping over the validity and reliability, the trustworthy of the study. We're getting rid of that. And then we're on to data collection. Okay. Percy, and Costier now really come back in, and their data collection is not the greatest, but it's a good start. The data analysis is exactly how you're going to do it. So realistically, at the beginning of this, you introduce the instrumentation and your interview guide again. Okay. There's a demographic survey that does age, gender, and so on and so forth. And the interview, whatever you interview, the transformation leadership interview guide, now you use your acronym. Okay. And then you can integrate it into 2 sentences if you want, but you just want to tell a little bit about both, not what actually it's going to say. Okay. You've already introduced your interview guide, and then it'll say the data collection process proceeded as follows. Okay. And then it's detailed. Now, this is where I'm going to say that you do this before you actually do it. So you're always doing your best you can to make sure that everything is highlighted there the best you can. It may switch when you're in the process, and everybody knows that. It's not a big deal. If it completely gets blown up and you go somewhere else, now we have to go back and rewrite that section. But let's say you're at the convention and you say you're going to do it in a quiet room and you actually did it out in the hallway, it doesn't matter. That portion is not going to matter. Okay? So when you're writing this up, it's and pretty much you're going to keep this the same for all of them. Okay? Data collection, it starts from when you actually recruit the person from the beginning.
Okay.
So recruited the individual off of, since you're doing it across the nation, in that data collection portion of it, you're going to need, I didn't add this in here, you need to highlight where you're getting the information on these bodies.
Okay.
Friends, wherever you got it from. So if you got it from a database or something like that, or from the handbook or wherever you got it from, you need to kind of allude to that at this point. We may put that in the sample selection, but at this moment we're going to put it in the data collection at the beginning, kind of like tell everybody the participants were drawn from the list of active Christian college athletic directors from the national office, whatever it is. Make
okay.
sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So you're introduce the instrumentation. You're going to do that. Make sure you tell where you're grabbing your participants actually from. And then the data process starts from, okay, basically you sent out an email with asking for their participation. Okay. And you were going to, then like the next step would be, once accepted, the demographic survey was sent out. Once you, no, I'm sorry. The consent form would go out. Then it would come back, and once the consent form is returned, they got the demographic survey. Demographic survey was analyzed for inclusion criteria, offered the opportunity to be a part of the interview process, and that's just the very beginning. And then you'd have to have one for like the convention. So you'd have two. You'd have one that was just general, and then you have one at the convention site, because it's going to change a little bit, because you're gonna have a area to set up the table. You're gonna set up a table and offer them the opportunity to take the do the consent form, and then the and then do the survey, and then offer them the opportunity to meet at a different time. Okay, and then your data collection. The rest of the data collection is once you get started. So they've already done the consent form at the very, very beginning before they did the demographic survey. So you don't have to worry about that in the second. But now you're talking about when you go to sit down to do the interviews.
Right.
And you kind of do research on this and the dissertation, how they wrote this up. And it's just a step-by-step process. Welcome to the interview. Talked again about the consent form and remind them that they signed the consent form earlier. Asked them if they had any questions about the consent form or any questions at all. Had a little bit of small talk. Then you went into turned on the recorder. Told them to turn on the recorder. It's this simple. Told them you're going to turn on the recorder. Turned on the recorder, and then for interviews, it's really easy. It's like, asked the interview questions and turned off the tape recorder, and what was the last one be? Thanked the participant for their time, and asked them if they had any questions, and then thank you for their time, and told them what the next steps would be.
So you're saying you would specify all that in this section?
Oh yeah,
you got to put all those details. Okay, got
to put all in it. Now, when you go to do it, it'll never be perfect.
Right.
But it's the general.
It gives you the blueprint for what you're going to do.
Gives you the blueprint.
Okay.
So like you're going to have two sections, one for regular, one for convention, and then that last portion would be the actual interview, what you're going to do for the interview. And that's pretty easy. You're basically welcoming them and you're telling them what you're going to do, talk about the consent form again, ask them if they have any questions, start the tape recorder, do the interview, ask them if they have any questions, tell them a little bit about what's coming up afterward, what will happen in the future, and then thank them, and you're done. A little bit different than the 15,000 things you have to do for a regular survey. Okay. Once that's done, and then of course you tell them and then your next paragraph is what's going to happen next for you. Transcription, data analysis. How are you going to do the data analysis for your demographic survey? And I can help you with that part. How will all this be performed? Okay. Because pretty much when you're done, you're going to take the audio files, have them transcribed, and then you're moving on to data analysis stuff. And then you're going to reiterate again how this data will be stored and destroyed. Okay. And again, that's another one I'll help you with to make life real easy on that one. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Last section, data analysis. Intro sentence. Okay. Real simple. Very simple intro sentence. It's going to talk about the data analysis with constant comparison from Percy. And then in the Percy document, there are 13 steps. You're going to reword all 13 of those steps. And that's it.
Okay.
So, I mean, that portion is really easy. You just got to reword. You can't use it word for word.
Right.
It's paraphrased.
That's the process. Yeah.
That's the process. It's exactly what you're going to do. Okay. And then pretty much that's it. If we need to add anything after that, we'll be good. So, I mean, it's little bite-sized pieces that kind of intertwine each other. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this video, which is only like 45 minutes long. So I might be able to splice it real quick.
Okay.
Splice it up. And then once that's done, I'll get that to you. I might just send it as a MP4 file and not upload it to YouTube because it might transfer better, but I don't know. If not, I'll put it on YouTube, send you the links for them, and then basically start with start at research design, or statement of the problem, or research questions and research methodology. Start there. Don't wait till you're all done to send it to me.
Okay.
Remember, each one of these sections stands on their own 2 feet.
Okay.
So like when you've done statement of the problem, research question, research methodology, send that off.
And I should just send this to just you until we get kind of to the end. Is that right?
Just to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just to me. And then once you get then once that's done, you can start working on your research design and sample population, and then send that to me. Then work on instrumentation, data collection, and just send me once something's kind of done, or just as soon as you're done with your research design, send it to me. That way I can edit it and put it into its own file called research design. What I did for this when I was working with Dr. Lawrence was that I had a file on my computer, and it started with not the introduction, but it started with what is that? A research methodology. So I had a file for research methodology, research design, study population, in each of the sections of the headings.
Were their own.
When I was done, I'd send that to her. She'd go over because each of them stand on their own 2 feet.
Okay.
So it's not like everything has to intertwine. So once it's done, you just send me that. And actually, you could copy and paste that right into an email.
Okay.
That way you don't have to send me no files or anything else. Once it's done, if you think it's done, copy and paste it in, because I'll copy and paste it into better you send it to me in a Word document so then I can make the edits.
Okay.
Send it to me in a Word document. Text me and tell me it's in there.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'll get on it right away, because if you nail it, then realistically, I was done with my research once I got the hang of it. I was done in about 4 or 5 days, not 8 hours a day, but about an hour or two a day, and I was just able to just start banging these things out in this section.
Okay.
So, and it's a step-by-step process. So I'm going to send you my written notes. I'm going to try to bust up this video real quick and get it to you in its rough form, and we'll be good.
All right. That'll be really great. That'll get me going.
Get stuck. Here's the big one now. If you get stuck, text me.
Okay.
A 2-second phone call can break through a wall.
Okay.
Again, yes, I know it's a lot of stuff that you got in an hour.
Okay.
So if something just doesn't make sense, I don't care. Just give me a call. I'll go over it real quick with you again, get you going again, and then the ball gets going. All right?
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Heinzen. I appreciate it.
Anytime, buddy. Give me a holler when you need me.
All right. Thanks so much. All right. We'll see you. All right. Bye-bye.